Then you also may have seen that the website is organized, is dominated by white Anglo-Saxon males. And this board is completely different, because what you bring in is diversity. And not only gender diversity, but also cultural diversity and also international diversity. That makes it much more exciting, but also something to bear in mind, because you also have to deal with intercultural differences. And we know that we speak from experience. We've experienced this before. These might just kick in. That makes it really fantastic. Okay, so what then is the aim? The aim is, and you can see it on the slide, is getting insight into and having to cope with very complex decision-making situations in a dynamic and highly ambiguous and uncertain environment. And that already started with sending out the emails. Because when you received the agenda, you may have thought to yourself, what's it going to look like? What's expected from me? No idea. You do know what your role is, so you already may have looked up what your role looks like, and you already also may have seen the agenda item, which is very much about Russia and Gazprom. And you may have thought to yourself, okay, what is this then all about, and what is it that we need to do? So we also withheld some information. What you are expected to do afterwards, at the end of this plenary session, I put here some information, additional information, and you all can pick up one of these memoranda that is here on the table. That is additional information. Please read it carefully at the outset of the meeting. So that is what you will do, and furthermore, it's very, very complex. And you will also see that you have to take decisions on issues that you normally would never do. But this is really a very, a hot item, as you may also have witnessed in the news last week. Don't know whether you noticed, but in the news you may have come across something like this. This is a quote from the Daily Telegraph, and it's about Mr. Putin's interview that was held last week. It was a 4-hour interview that was broadcasted on Russian television. And from now on, you are the Shell boardroom, which means that personal convictions or personal ideas on behavior on whatever of Mr. Putin or whoever doesn't really matter. It is about how he or his interviews, what he just mentioned, what he claims, how it impacts your company, which is now Shell. And one statement from the Daily Telegraph, it says, Vladimir Putin has accused the United States of violating the nuclear balance and warned against a third world war during an annual televised call-in show. That is what he mentioned. So, and he did that while speaking of the World Cup, the football cup, that will start coming Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. But he also mentioned something else. Let's see if we can make that work. I've got just a brief video clip, just to also show you that it is really hot.
Shalom Chaverim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. And of course, we're going to be dealing with a couple of subjects tonight. Breaking, of course, that came out earlier today. President Putin weighed in a televised interview on Russia's 24 television broadcast there. What if, the question was asked, what if Kiev tries to retake the territory during the World Cup? According to the translators, I think it will have very serious consequences for Ukraine statehood. Wow, that can be very serious right there for President Putin to put it so bluntly in what he had to say. And to top that off, this came out 2 hours ago from the president of Russia himself, Putin, stating here, a Kremlin release, it is important to simplify the Russian citizenship procedure for refugees from Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic. Now, I'm taking this, that this is more along the lines of how to deal with the refugee situation, because there are a lot of refugees that have fled the war-torn region of Donetsk and Luhansk regions that are now self-proclaimed republics. They are also using the Russian currency there, the rubles, and are backed by Russia with humanitarian aid, and even the Wagner Group very much in helping with their defenses inside the country. That being stated, though, you also can't help but wonder if there does break out a serious war, if Russia will not absorb this part of eastern Ukraine back into their own government. I say this, but let me tell you something that is kind of, how would you call it? I don't even know the right expression to say this, but, I watched so much news coming out of mainstream media ever since the whole Maidan coup took place in Ukraine, which we covered heavily. We have friends that live in Ukraine, and we were covering, actually from even the pro-Ukrainian side. We have friends on both sides, the ethnic Russian side as well as the pro-Ukrainian side, getting input of what was happening, even about the deaths of the people that were unarmed. And I was asking, why are they doing this? And one good friend of mine lives in New York now that...
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Just a few minutes of an interview that lasts much longer, but just to show you that today's topic, just to show you that today's topic is really hot, and that you have to take decisions on some very, very critical issues. And remember, from now on, you live shell, you eat shell, because you are shell, right? You are the poor, and there is a heavy weight on your shoulders. So what's going to happen in Ukraine during the football championship? No idea. But what we do know is that it will hugely affect your country if something breaks out. Now, suppose something breaks out, then what? Okay. Let's first some upfront remarks based on also experiences last year. Smartphones are switched off. So no smartphones on, and also no checking of email and WhatsApp or whatever. Respect each other's values and thinking. I mean, as already mentioned, it's very much an intercultural group, which means that you also really have to respect each other's way of thinking and each other's values. Also make sure, and that's also something for the CEOs who will be the presidents and will also preside the meetings to look into, is that everybody should participate, and everybody should also be heard, and that listening is an art. I mean, you don't always have to speak. Sometimes you first have to listen before you start speaking. Okay, the agenda looks like this. 10:30, plenary kickoff, or we're a little early, but never mind. Then at, well, around 11, you will start in teams. And the group division has already been sent around by email. You are all notified, but I've also noticed that we have some earlier cohort students in our midst. I would like to ask them to report them after the meeting so that they can be divided or assigned to groups that have already been divided. So that's what we will do. We'll start around 11. We've organized a number of meeting rooms. The meeting rooms are all nearby, are all in this building. I will also point out later on at the end the exact locations and how to get there. It's not difficult, but maybe that you are not really accustomed to this building. Then, at 11:45, we will have some news. No idea what the news will look like, but something that you have to deal with, or may have to deal with, or not. That's also something for you to decide. Then, at 1300 hours, we will have a lunch here. The lunch will be served. We will have soup and bread and butter. And we will have a plenary feedback session that will last, well, some 45 minutes approximately. Okay, Mr. Meertens, can I give the floor to you? Because you also wanted to tell us something about the RAP method.
Thank you so much, Egbert. As you already have heard, it's very much about decision making. But before you're taking any decisions, it's about deliberating. So think, deliberate before you make decisions. And before making decisions, you might try to take into account, to the extent that that is possible, how to optimize decision making. And there are quite a few that have been, basically all of you have been studying behavioral economics. And I can see by the smile, tell by the smiles on your faces, that you say, oh, okay, I know, guys, there's not much to be done about it. Our brains are playing us some tricks all the time, which is true. But then that's also then partially offset by the fact that, as my colleague just mentioned, you're a highly diverse group, and somehow there's a diversity of cognitive biases, or at least of the degree to which these cognitive biases are being pronounced. So you might be also benefiting, should be benefiting from this diversity. And there's a very nice to apply and tried and tested method to somehow come to terms with the challenge of, well, relatively speaking, improving, optimizing decision making, which is the RAP method. I discussed it earlier this morning with Maria. We both have been using it for our consulting activities, and it speaks very much for itself. So if and when you find yourself asking, okay, what should I be doing next? Or how can I now proceed? Because it's such a difficult question. First way to do that, maybe thinking of widen your choice set, the scope of your decision making. Have you really included, well, it's never going to be possible to include everything, but should you maybe not expand your the options that you will be thinking about? Number one is reality testing. To what extent am I close enough? Are we close enough to what reality, to some extent, seems to be dictating upon? You just notice how hedging I'm about it. It seems to be dictating. To some extent, maybe once in a while we might even also be wrong about that. There's a slight tension between the widening your choices and the reality testing. You can see that. So there's a keep those things in balance. Number three is, of course, a lot more easily said than done. Attain distance before deciding. Well, that's very much about managing your emotions. Okay, you all got the message, right? Because you feel deeply about things are impacting you, and there's some personal commitment and engagement, and attaining distance. Well, yes, of course, in the name of objectivity and adequacy and quality of decision making, this is absolutely called for. But just don't underestimate the challenge. It's going to be a nice challenge to be presented with and also facing it. So this is the cool part of it. And last but not least, even your very best attempt at optimizing, improving your decision making might, in the end, because there's something out there playing their part pretty independently of what you're thinking, which might lead to, okay, in spite of that, it has not been really the best decision at all. we need to think of rectifying things and somehow not staying the course, but taking another direction. So think of, very often we're using the term tripwires. What are tripwires? What would be incidents, events, situations which would, well, hopefully not have you trip, you know, means trip over something that's actually you more or less fall flat on your face. Shouldn't be happening, but what would be something that you said, no, this is the line that must not be crossed, and we will then, if this should really, this event or this situation should occur, have to rethink our decision and think of something else. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the wrap method.
Great, thank you.
Okay, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As always, there's always an assignment attached to the boardroom session. It's not that you're here just what to discuss again and hopefully have one at a time, which you definitely will have, but there are also some assignments attached to the boardroom. And basically there are two. One is a group assignment and an individual assignment. And I just will put out a few remarks here on the slide, but you can also find more details on Blackboard. You can also find the assignment on Blackboard. So what then do you need to do in case of the group assignment? You should hand in a memorandum of maximum 4 pages, no longer than that, just 4 pages. And it should record, and it's very precise on what exactly it is that should be on this memorandum. Of course, the name of the group members, student numbers, please don't forget. The group's decisions to the issues posed in both boardroom meetings regarding the issues posed and decisions taken. So what decisions did you take? And what was your attitude towards the decisions? And again, more information also on Blackboard. You can also find the session criteria there. The third one is to perceive potential outcomes and which one among them is considered most likely and which least likely. Reporting regarding both meetings, and the last one is the tripwires after implementation that would signal the need to rethink a decision. It's also something Mr. Meertens already referred to. The tripwires, what exactly are the tripwires? And how did you tackle them? And what would you do differently next time? This assignment has to be handed in form of a hard copy in week 9 in the pigeonholes of Mr. Meertens and myself, so please hand in 2 copies by 12 o'clock Friday 29th, and also send a soft copy to our email address. I will also upload the slides on Blackboard so you can also have another look when you're back home this evening, so that you can also see what the assignments are and also where you have to send it to. Also, this information is, of course, also on Blackboard in the assignment. The next thing is you also have to do an individual assignment, which is more like a reflection paper. The group assignment weighs most heavily, for 80%. The reflection paper, the individual assignment, accounts for 20% of the final grade that you get for IBR. So the reflection paper will be about your role, playing and experience as a member of the board of the Royal Dutch Shell, and the feedback sessions that follow them. What exactly needs to be in there? Is something you can also find on Blackboard. So it's a personal reflection on your experience regarding the boardroom. So the first group assignment, something you have to do together. Obviously, that's what the group assignment for. This is a reflection report that you have to hand in. Both will be graded, 20% for this one and 80% for the group assignment. And also please have this one. This one can be handed in later, just a few days later, Monday the 2nd of July. So you have a little bit more space there. But please make sure to hand it in on time so that we can also deal with it before the summer break.
Can I just ask a quick question on this regard?
Beg your pardon?
Can I ask a quick question about
yes,
that?
Of course.
So
in our individual essay or
Yeah.
this reflection,
Yeah.
do we just focus on how we reflected on the role, just in our role,
Yes.
or do we look at the whole collective agreement and how the whole group went, the dynamics of it? Do we look at both?
It is about your impression.
Just our impression.
Yes, that's what it's a personal reflection.
Okay.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, what exactly needs to be in the reflection report is also posted. Okay. It's fine. Yeah. Okay. Now for today, we organized a number of rooms where the boardroom sessions will be held. And the boardroom, these rooms are all organized well in the vicinity of this hour. The first group will go to B023 and will be hosted or coached by Ms. Ding Ding. Room B023 is ground floor, and I don't know what you already noticed when you came in, but all the wings here are posted. You can find these signs saying exactly what wing you are in. So the A wing is just opposite here to the aula. You just go a little further than to the right, you will find the B wing, the C wing, the D wing in the end. The H wing may be a little bit more difficult to find. So that is, the H wing is, I think, if the H188, that is, you're heading towards the end of the building, and then I think it's even the second door on the left. The shield says H188, not specifically A, but just 188. You go through the door, and then on the left and the right-hand sides, you will find the room. In this case, only I think the right-hand side you will find the room that you need. So just go through the door, say H188, and you will find behind the door. You will also find room H188A. So group 2 then will also be hosted, coached by Ms. Ding Ding. Then group 3 and group 6 by Ms. Kalhoven. Group 3 will go to room A105, and group 6 to A112, which is just opposite here to the hallway. Then group 4 and 5 will be hosted by Mr. Gittens in 109 and 143. And the group 7 and 8 will be hosted by me. In case the room doesn't fit, or for whatever reason, we also have a few spare rooms. I already divided what I think were the best rooms. So if for any reason the room doesn't really suit you or whatever, then we still have a few spare rooms left where you can also turn to. In case the room is taken, then please kindly request the other people to go out, because these have been reserved specifically and especially for the boardroom sessions. So please ask them to leave. If they don't, well, I'm not willing to, I can't mention why they would leave, but just in case, then please call me or one of the and we will make sure that you can enter the room as scheduled. So this is basically what the group schedule and the room division looks like. What you need to do now is, when you go to your rooms, please first pick out a form here. It's called the Inter-Office Memorandum. Read it carefully before you start with the session. So please pick up one of these, every one of you. We have also an agenda. I don't know whether you already printed out the agenda, but we also have an agenda here you can take with you. And an empty slide of paper on which you can fold it and put your name on it and use it as a name shield. But we don't have name shields here, but please take one. And for the CEOs, the chairpersons of each group, you can also take one of these markers with you. and that may facilitate you writing your name on the name sheet. Any questions so far? Any remarks? Yes?
A few practicalities. Just make sure that you not only write down your name, but also your role, from CEO, ranging all the way to upstream and chief legal expert, whatever you may find there, the role assigned to it. Also make sure, a very practical note, that you take notes, make notes. And you might also think of appointing a designated board member to the role of minute taker or recorder. Think of that, because you have to rely on that for your memorandum writing. At one point, think of taking a brief break. Think of your brains, not only yourself. They need a little bit of nutrient, a little bit of some beverage. And the roles of us, the facilitators, will be kind of being played on the note of only very sparsely intervening. A few hints if necessary, maybe just a few comments during the break and just before wrapping it up. But most of the feedback will be given in the afternoon. So most of the time we will be wearing our participant observers hats, taking notes as well. And at one point, be something like the boardroom secretary. So we're going to be shifting, but most of it is just basically all of the time you are the protagonists in this game.
Just wallpaper. We have just wallpaper. We are there, but we're also not. We're not going to intervene, but if necessary, only if really necessary, we will. But we will provide you with feedback. What we will do, we will be observers. That's what we will do.
We will have to be dividing our time, each of us, between two groups. We already noticed that. So please don't think that at one point we're getting someone no longer interested. No, we have to also shift to the other group. And then, so this will also, unfortunately, make for the fact that we will not really get the complete picture. You just have to fill us in on some of the things that we've been missing out. And at one point, yes, we will then remind all of us at one, we're supposed to be back here.
But one ultimately.
Okay,
But
so
one
we'll take that.
ultimately, but we will start wrapping up
Maria,
around 12:30. So we will start wrapping up, and since we have to divide, as coaches, we have to divide our time. We can't be in two rooms at the same time. Please do not leave the room until the feedback is given or has been given by the coach. So please stay in the room. Do not already go here and start with lunch. But please wait until the feedback session in your meeting room, in your board, has taken place.
Yeah. Have we been ticking all the boxes? Recommendations and hints at this point? We'll be close to it. Let's have comments or questions.
I think so.
Otherwise, you just ask us anytime.
Any more questions, guys? Any more questions? You would like to ask? I mean, it's free. Since we are here, we might as well answer your questions.
Now you still can.
Beg your pardon?
Now you still can.
Now you still can, yes.
Later on.
Yeah. We have to make one paper in the end of the 2 days of boardroom, right? One paper, like 4 pages of memorandum after 2 days.
The group assignment.
Yes.
The group assignment, 4 pages, one assignment, 4 pages per group.
After 2 days of boardroom, after today and
No, we will come back to this again because on Wednesday we will have another session. Same time. We already told you front since.
Yeah, and on a last note, please, all those from previous cohorts, not from 2017-18, if you could all come and meet us here briefly so that we can make sure that you're assigned to specific groups and that we have all your details. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys, off you go. Have a wonderful morning. I'm sure you will. I mean, we are really very much looking forward. And hope to see you again at 1 o'clock for lunch and the plenary session. We're starting at 11. So you still, if you want to have a smoke, a quick smoke, or a cup of coffee, whatever, we will start at 11. Yep. Okay. So please take a memorandum.